It's time for a little bit of intellectual anarchy, where we engage in extreme truth, extreme common sense, and diversity of ideas. Today I want to talk to you about the Constitution, and like always, in an election cycle, this subject always comes up, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit and explain it. It's a very unique document. You know, we are a republic, and a republic is a nation of laws. But there's plenty of republics in the world, but very few, the very first like 5 to 6, give power to the people and limit the power of government. This is really new. This experiment in self-government. This experiment in personal responsibility. The experiments of self-reliance and self-education. Even though we have those services for free, it doesn't make you necessarily educated. If you go to school, it gives you the ability to take tests and gives you a base. It gives the world a base standard for your educational level. But we all know people who supposedly graduated that comes out with a very low reading level, very low math level. I know I did. I know I came out with a very low reading level and spelling level and math level. And I had to, when I started to get serious about my education, which was after high school, I fixed those things. And I'm really good at math. I can, it's not my forte, but I then began to, when I got out of school, I began to read like a book a month, because there were subjects I were interested in, and I educated myself. So there's a saying I have. There's a lot I believe that I would never say, but you'll never hear me say something I don't believe, because usually if I believe it, I'm educated on it. And I think the highest form of ignorance is to comment about something that you have, that you are ignorant on. So I don't ever want to do that, especially someone who helps people with life coaching, speaks, and is trying to be a social influencer. I better not be saying stupid shit, right? I better believe it at the very end of it. You may not agree with it, but I've taken the time to think it out. So that's neither here nor there. The Constitution has added power to the people and limited people. This is a brand new experiment, and we still don't know if it works, because there's plenty of people who feel, it's better to control people. It's better to give people limited choices of their lives, and we dictate it. People just don't like this experiment. They're not sold on it. And definitely there is flaws on giving people responsibility, because not everybody is responsible. But in this country, which has the most dominant culture, the most powerful military, the most powerful economy, the most tolerant, that bursts from this kind of freedom of personal responsibility and to live in the government. See, before all this, our forefathers knew that, and they were brilliant in knowing this, that before governments, there were monarchies. And monarchies thought that the people existed at their pleasure and for their pleasure. And they existed to work and toll for their kingdom. And the king promised them all these things, but rarely came up with it. And they knew if they were going to be done away with kings, that if we added a government, they knew that the government can just replace the monarchy and how it sees itself. It will see itself as the citizens for its own pleasure. That we should do and exist for the government, as opposed for the government existing for us. And they knew what power that any group of people voted in could functionally act like a monarchy, an oligarchy ruled by the few. So they created a country, a nation of laws that created these rules, these amendments that limit the power of government and gives power to the people. And this is where we are butted heads. Our forefathers knew what happens to people when they gain power. They'll act like a king and queen. They'll act like a monarchy, even though they may come from the most poorest parts of our country. Once they get in government and they know they have the power, they will, like it is a human flaw, they will try to push that power down on other people. And they will start to create laws that limit the freedom of other people and expand the power of government, because now they're a part of it. And they knew this. So they knew they needed these laws that would trump people' ability to see themselves as the ultimate authority. And it's written in that we are the ultimate authority as long as we're vigilant and paying attention. Right? Because if you're not, your rights can be taken out from under you. And so we have these two parties today. One that believes in democracy, Democrats. One that believes in nation of laws, Republican. They are aptly named. And there is this butting up of heads. Democrats, left-leaning Democrats, are willing to take away freedoms as long as things can be more equal. And the Republicans, they're willing for things to be unequal as long as we can maintain our freedoms. And this is the political divide in a nutshell. And they're aptly named. But here, though I am not Republican, I can't in all good conscience be a part of that group. They got major issues. I do lean towards them. I'm a conservative libertarian. More libertarian than conservative, but I put them together. But not a Republican. I do lean towards them because I ultimately know through history, you can't make people equally successful. You can't make people equally happy. What you can do is make everybody equally miserable. You can smack down the outliers. You can smack down the successful and tax them. You can punish them for being better than the people who are not. And we know that's not what we want. And it's amazing today how people don't get that. Now, freedom is definitely flawed. We have a lot of issues because of freedom. Personal responsibility, because not everybody is responsible. And when the people are not responsible, they want to turn to government to save them from their responsibility. So, we're at this political divide based on the Constitution. Because a lot of people believe that the Constitution should change like society changes. And I'm not so against that idea. All I'm saying that those who want to change the Constitution has not came up with a fucking better idea. You haven't. And the things that you want to limit are very short-sighted. And some of the laws they want to do won't fix the issue. So their natural tendency is to write laws that equal men with guns coming to take you to jail if you don't obey the laws. And most often, they are laws created to limit the few bad outliers, but they're overarching and punish the good people. And once you give in, the government that acts like a monarchy will try to expand it as much as possible. Governments are a necessary evil. We need them. We need them. And democracy is a necessary evil. We have to use it. But they should never trump the laws of our nation, especially our laws. The world, when our forefathers created the Constitution of the United States based on Judeo-Christian values and laws and Greek philosophy, some scholars believe that we made a 5,000-year jump in human evolution in our form of government. And a lot of people don't think that. But like I said, we're the most dominant culture, dominant military, dominant economy, most tolerant and most diverse in ideas and in race. In that way, it's worked way better than any other country. Some countries try to do it, but they're too homogenistic to really allow minorities a real stake at the table. The brilliance of the Constitution of the United States, you don't need to be born here to feel American. The Constitution says you have every right and every right to be proud to be American as a person whose family was here from the Revolution, Revolutionary War. I could go to Mexico, but I'll never be a Mexican. I can get citizenship. I can go to France, and I'll never be a Frenchman. But all those people from all those other countries can come to America and become American. No matter what happened, no matter where they're from. They want to be a part of America and be a part of the American dream, which is real. 1 million people a year, I think that's the very little estimate, can't be wrong. There's people who right now, if they can flip their finger and they can be in our country, they would be, without a shadow of a doubt. So, the changing of the Constitution. Let's get into that a little bit, but right now I have a commercial for you. Hey everyone, it's James Salazar here. Just want to take a moment and tell you about some of my other shows, some of the resources I offer, and some free things I have for you. Number one, you're probably watching on one of my YouTube channels, the James Salazar Media YouTube channel, and some of my other shows are the Brightburn YouTube Academy, where we talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur and the mindsets that you need to follow through on what you're going to do. We talk about, in the Intellectual Anarchy, we talk about religion, philosophy, and politics, because I think they're inseparable from having a more powerful intellect and identity. We also have the James Salazar Media podcast right here, where we talk about politics, pop culture, and futurism. It's also a YouTube channel, and you can listen it on iTunes podcast. If you want to check out my coaching service, jamessalazarmedia.com. If you want to follow me on any social media, here's this QR code. Take a picture of that, and it should link you to all my social media accounts. And what I have for free is the Brightburn Society Facebook group, where we maximize your illumination by maximizing your human potential so people will see your light. It's a free Facebook group. Just answer the questions and join right in. I also have a free handout for you right here called How Can You Be Great at Everything You Do Blueprint. It's a free ebook. Just put your name and your email, and that will be sent right to you. It will all the links will be in the show notes of this video. So press like, press subscribe, get notified, press the notification, whatever you need to do to follow my content. I really appreciate your time. This is James Salazar signing out. So let's bring it down to a boil. Let's wrap this up here. Constitution. A lot of people believe so. The Democrats want democracy, and here's the problem. And here's one other problem with that. And let me tell you that democracy is not mentioned in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, or any of the state constitutions. They all have their laws. They're all republics. The Republic of California, they're all republics. There is an admission that the most important thing is the law. So therefore, a certain party wants to change the law through democracy, a necessary evil that we use, but it shouldn't trump the republic laws. So what recourse does a left-leaning Democrat want to do? They want to change the Constitution, right? Well, let's change those laws that limit me. The person is serving in government who sees himself as an elitist, who's smarter than everybody else, those laws are keeping me from helping you, so therefore I need to change the laws. But here's a flaw in that. And the flaw is this. What they really want to do, and they believe the Constitution should be a living, breathing document that changes with people. But the fact of the matter is they want to make all the changes and say, no more changes. Let me make my changes, and then no more changes. You can't make your changes. And that's not what would happen. Once we start changing the Constitution of the United States based upon who's ever in charge, then every election cycle, people will start the laws would change, and we as the American people would have to gauge and judge every administration and be aware of the new laws coming in. Major laws like freedom of speech, right to bear arms, right to assemble, freedom of religion. If all these can be changed through administration, it is a recipe for disaster. So we have these things called a constitutional convention where we add something or take them away, like we needed to clearly state that you can't enslave black people. Even though in our Constitution, we said all men are created equal. And in there, though our forefathers needed the help of the southern people who were slave owners to fight the British, when they wrote the Constitution, they put the death knell of slavery, and clearly everybody knew what they were doing, but they were all going to be under a boot. They were all going to be slaves themselves to the British rule, especially when they were coming to attack them and put them back under their boot. When my mind's ringing. Hold on. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Well, the whole group wrote the Constitution. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. He helped write it all. He knew he put the death knell to slavery. So we knew, and we went to war over it. Because common sense, black people are my mind's blanking right now. Humans. And Congress tried to make them less than humans to do that. Well, in fact, it is such a deep issue. The South wanted, I have to explain this, the South wanted to enslave black people, but then use the sentiment of the other side saying they're humans and use them to vote and always win and keep slavery in. So the good side had to say, well, we're going to limit that because they're using this loophole to keep slavery in, So we have to make people less, we have to make black people not fully human. And once they did that, it eventually, the only way to solve this was to go to war. But they called it Constitutional Convention, and they put in the law, a clear law that says you cannot enslave, there's no slavery in America, which brought around the war. Because the South were saying, oh, you believe these people should have rights, then you shouldn't mind if they voted. And then they would tell their black slaves, you better vote the way we want you to, or we will beat you to death. And then black people will go in and vote for slavery. So the good people had to come and say, nope, we can't, we have to lessen that vote to the point where the black slave vote doesn't matter. That the white moral vote that's against slavery does. And once they did that, the only way to, if they couldn't get the slave owners to free the people from slavery based on that they're humans, then it meant going to war. And once Abraham Lincoln created the Constitutional Congress to end slavery once and for all, war came. And in that war, people died to end slavery, and people died to defend it. So there was a sacrifice and a punishment made by the American people. White people, I know minorities don't want to hear that. White people. So, do I believe there should be a constitutional convention? I do. But only to limit the power of the government. And that would be short terms for congressmen, senators. They can have lifetime appointments, which is a disaster for American people. I think there should, and there could be a pathway to be a lifetime politician, but if you've been voted in the House, you can only run for 2 terms, make them 5 each, 10 years, and you can run for the Senate and do another 2 terms, and which would be about 20 years in, and then you could run for vice president, which is what it is, and then you can run for president, and then you're opt out. I mean, if you can do that, you could be a lifetime politician. But we must limit the ability of the House to have lifetime appointed politicians, the Senate, the vice presidency, and the presidency. The vice presidency and the presidency are limited by 2 terms. I think the vice president can become somebody's vice president for a variety of times. So we have to limit that. You can only be a vice president for 8 years, a president for 8 years, and a congressman for 10 years, and a senator, a House representative for 10 years, and a senator for 10 years. I think that needs to be written into law. We can't have like Nancy Pelosi and all these people who've been there for 50 years. Screw that. No. These people are the court, the powerful court, royal court of our Congress, and they are never going to get out of there unless we limit them. So that's what I believe should the constitutional amendment should be. I would also put a balanced budget. We shouldn't be borrowing money from people. We shouldn't be paying for stuff unless it balanced the budget without taking out a loan. We wouldn't do that for our own home. We do that with our government. We are trillions of dollars in debt, and we're just passing it down the line to our kids and their generations, and it's going to come and screw us in the ass for sure. The Constitution is the most brilliant document. It is the best legal document in human history other than the Ten Commandments, and we'll get into why I think the Ten Commandments is. And here's something that might not be popular. The whole world is going to be in turmoil until they adopt the American Constitution, until it's a worldwide constitution. Nobody has gotten a better one. The reason why there's conflict on the world is because not everybody has equal rights that we do. The right for self-determination, the right to pull themselves up from their position, the right to just have economic opportunity. Our forefathers created this country so we can maximize our human potential. And I've heard no one create something better until you do. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So this is James Salazar signing out of some intellectual anarchy. Have a good day.